Guys, it's been a hot minute, but we're back. It's Invisible Sunday. How's everybody been doing? We had a great holiday. I think no one got lost in the shadow, and we were a little bit worried about one of them, but you know, he pulled through, and it's good to be back. It's I've missed this. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've missed this. So let's go ahead and introduce everybody. I'm Josh. I'm the game master for this game, Soul's Direction. And we're playing Invisible Sun today from Monte Cook Games. And Kelton, go ahead.
Hey everybody, I'm Kelton. You can find me on Twitter and other places as Fesnerax or Fesnerax the Fantastic, and super excited to be here and play some Invisible Sun. It's been a minute.
Chris?
I'm Chris, also known as Synth. You can find me here. You can find me on Twitter as well. And I'm just kind of hanging out, ready for some more Invisible Sun. See where things go.
The one that needs no introduction, but we're going to give her one anyway.
I'm Joanne, the Angel of Angel Citadel. You can find me everywhere as Angel Citadel, I guess. Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'm playing Claire, Thespian, and I'm very happy to be back because I figured stuff out. I'm so excited. This is exciting stuff.
And last but not least, Jeff.
Hi, everybody. My name's Jeff. I am Jeffrey Boring on Discord, and either Jeffrey Boring or RJ Vaden 3 everywhere else. And I'm ready to get back in the hot seat.
Okay, is it just me or does anybody else hear RJ Vader 3? Like you should be wearing a black cape and a mask and sounding all raspy and stuff like that.
Since I was 11 years old, many people have been hearing that, yes.
Boy, it's good to have everybody back. I missed all of you. Well, not Joanne. I've been with her the whole time. So yeah, let's go over real quick what's happened. Joanne.
All right, so Claire's house burned down, which was not okay. Because of the place. We're fairly sure it's because of the place that the house burned down. All of her ghosts are gone. She was very sad. There's been a lot of research happening by Sterling. Billy is still trying to figure out where he came from and why others remember the actuality before Shadow, but he doesn't. Yeah, what else are we missing? Oh yeah, notes. Thank you, baby. I can't read these.
I give up, you know.
Was the last session the one where I found out about gardeners?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. You
part of
found
the battery of research I had Wynette do. Wynette?
Yep.
Yep. I had him do just a bunch of researching for me because I had other things to do, like talk to Claire about her house burning down. We found out about a group of being that were created as gardeners and grove tenders to sort of oversee creation. And there
Those were
was
the Arabast, yes.
yeah. And there was an alarming part in there that said the angular serpentine knew better than Vislae. Somehow.
And you had decided you were going to lure somebody to a play so that you could gang up on them and, get one of those hot light things and do the questioning and the good cop and bad cop or okay, maybe you weren't going to do that, but
I think we were just going to ask him nicely. We were going to talk to Kudash.
You're going to talk to Kadash, yeah. So you'll have to forgive me. My voice is kind of going. I've had a little bit of a chest cold, but um. So yeah, then the theater burned down, and it sure looked like the thaw burned it down, and
They took the play.
they took one of the copies of the play that the ghosts made, and that's where we left it. So, as I recall, you are all at Albion's bomber, and you had just had massive piles of bacon and pancakes and coffee. And Claire had talked about the idea of taking the fight to the thaw by broadcasting the plays like by radio or something somehow.
Yes. Much radio, very well.
So what do you guys want to do today? We're going to assume that it's the same day. This is early afternoon. And yeah, you're in the fade.
Well, I assume that if you're trying to broadcast plays, you will need some method for broadcasting. Now, as a goetic, I assume you could probably reach out to some of the ghosts who tap into the radio communications across Saturnine. Maybe you could convince some of them to perform dramatic readings into the radios.
Maybe. I can certainly try. It's just I can only. I'm not exactly high enough level to have more than one at a time unless they have a. Like the ghosts that were at my theater were bound to that building. They could travel from it, but they were bound to it, and they had been bound by somebody else. I'm not quite powerful enough as a goetic yet.
Furthermore, you'd need a cast to do the play.
Yep. Well, doing a dramatic reading wouldn't be that bad. We could just get somebody to read it out loud and that could do voices. It's just a matter of finding a good location, maybe something mobile. Plus, I have to go visit my Hall of Records at some point in the next week or so that I can present myself for rank up. And she kind of makes this like face of disgruntlement. You can tell she's not exactly excited about it.
Albion sympathizes.
Does anybody know how radio works here exactly? Because something tells me it's, janky.
Well, from my understanding, it is broadcast through the ether, which is why ghosts might be a good lo-fi solution. They can tap into the ether without having to broadcast per se. That would make it a bit harder for the Thaw to track down the source of the radio broadcasts. But otherwise, we could try to create a broadcast system. I could probably rig up an antenna to broadcast. The problem would be, of course, how to keep that
Hidden.
beneath the Thaw's notice.
Or at least
That's
one
something I
step
could
ahead.
probably help with. At least I think I could.
Or,
I could
at least
try.
one step ahead.
Hmm.
If we could make it mobile, I mean, the problem with the theater house is that it was, a location. If we make it mobile,
I
too
can
bad this.
probably mask the location on a fairly substantial level. Might take everything I got, but I think I could do it.
I think it would be important for us to perhaps gather our resources and power and make a strong plan before we launch into such a venture. Does seem that does seem a bit daunting with our current resources.
I'm
I'm
willing to bet the
smelling a
college
character
could
arc.
supply some.
Maybe even a group character arc. No, there's not such a thing, but I'm fixing to do one.
Well, I do have to spend time at the Hall of Records. If I make some contacts there, I could probably get my hands on some slightly higher level goetics. They're always open for bribes.
Speaking of bribes, aren't you able to learn about some of the more bribe-friendly spirits and demons out there
Yes, I
to
am.
help you while you're there?
Yes, I should be able to do that. The Hall of Records has names, and names are a good thing. We like names. It's just not going to be easy. And of course, you guys are forbidden from going there because, oh my god, we can't share our magic. She kind of rolls her eyes.
You're going to get kicked out of the Goetics before it's all over with, aren't you? Well, before that happens, perhaps we ought to let you get in there and get as much information out of the Hall of Goetics as possible. I can do a bit of research into creating some kind of ether broadcast system.
Yeah, that would be, I think, a job well suited to you. And I might have an idea or a bit of a question for everyone. We had a lot of questions for Kudash, and this has got me thinking. He wrote about seeing through illusions, and if I'm going to try to take on, masking our little broadcast so it doesn't come back to us, or hiding the location of where it's being broadcast from, etc. Might be able to reverse engineer a strategy from some of what he talked about. So, are we still interested in talking to him?
Can't see how more information wouldn't be helpful.
Yeah, he'd make a good contact, I think. What do you think, Sterling?
So long as we can confirm he has no in with the thaw at all. Or
I'm
that
beginning,
the thaw may not overlook him. That would work too.
I'm beginning to think that the Thaw might have their fingers in a lot more pies than we can avoid.
So I guess we're just gonna have to eat pie.
Worse fates.
I will remind you that you did discover last session that Kudash published his papers not through the Vancian College, although they collected them, but through the Order of Honed Thought.
Yeah, what do we know about the Order of Home Thought collectively? I personally know fuck all about it. So,
Collectively, not a whole lot, although what you can probably gather reasonably easily is that they're not directly tied to the thaw. The rumors about that group are that there was a lot of activity pre-war and during the war, but no one talks about what it was, and you're not even sure that anybody knows. And then after the war, now it's become something of a people look at it as like a social club, almost like a drinking club. They get together and reminisce about philosophy and vagaries and things like that. But there doesn't seem to be any knowledge about anything more to it. That doesn't mean that there's nothing. It just means that the rumors that you're able to pick up, that's what it is.
And just to clarify my own notes, Kudash is a weaver, right?
Kudash is a weaver, yes.
Yeah, so if he's a weaver, I don't really see him being too entangled with the Thaw. Kind of diametrically opposed philosophies there.
That would be fairly easy to believe, yes.
So how do we want to approach him? What do you guys think? Do we all want to talk to him?
I think maybe you should talk to him, weaver to weaver.
You're muted, Jeff.
Yeah. Perhaps as a weaver, you could make more headway. And I mean, I haven't met many people who are more skilled at drinking and passing the time.
You have a fair point there, sir.
And you could probably do that while I'm dealing with the Hall of Records.
Well, in
and
that
the
case,
Poetics.
does anybody have any burning questions for him I should make note of before I have this conversation?
I probably wrote down full copies of his papers, didn't I? That's just something that, or I would have had Wynette do that.
That
I think
would
I
make
remember
sense,
you
yeah.
having. Yeah, I think I remember you having copies of.
I'll pass
stuff.
over the papers, and I'll just say if you have any questions from here, I didn't have anything in particular, but if anything stands out to you, then I'd go ahead and mention it just for the sake of knowledge, if anything. Vance coming in to interview him about a paper probably wouldn't be the best strategy.
Yeah, I've got a lot of other questions for him too, so I can start maybe on a more personal level and kind of work my way into some of this weirder shit.
Okay. So we've got the Hall of Records. We've got you going to Cash. Albion, you are working on researching how to build a ether broadcast device. Chris, Sterling, what are you doing?
I think if this is going to be a bit of downtime, or at least a bit of having to wait, I'm going to head back to campus and try to develop a few more connections and see about getting to a higher degree, just seeing if my mother is willing to sponsor me.
Okay. Think about the kinds of connections you want to be making, and we'll talk about that in just a few.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and start with Jeff, and then we'll go to Joanne, and then Kelton, and then Chris. All right. So, Jeff, Albion is researching ether broadcast devices. How do you want to go about doing that?
I believe Albion would probably just he would probably go directly to a radio broadcast station and introduce himself, introduce everybody to his pal, and invite them out for drinks. He doesn't see any harm in having a drink or two while he discusses the ins and outs of the radio broadcast business. He can tell them quite sincerely that he is studying how to broadcast into the ether and is looking to create a more powerful, compact device to help with that. Perhaps lowering their overhead.
All right. I'm going to guess that you're going to start with the one that's in the fade. Is that
Absolutely.
okay? So the building that you walk up to is, if you can imagine the old Adobe kind of buildings where it's that solid dried brick, dried cement kind of material. This looks a lot like that, like you'd see in New Mexico or whatever. The large antenna is sticking out of the top of a smaller building that's adjacent. But then there's a larger building that holds what looks like the main door. And so you knock on the door, and a woman answers. She's dressed in a robe, a very formal one, and the robe at the edges is really frayed. It's almost like what happens when you reach into an enclosure and there's sharps and it catches on the bits of your sleeve or whatever and tears it, or you know hot areas that singe. So you see little burns and rips and tears around the sleeves of her arms. And then up in her hair, you see 2 or 3 pencils that are stuck, holding her hair in a bun.
Mhm.
Can I help you?
Well, hello. My name is Albion Jathan. Here's my card. The number here, don't use that if you should need me, but this one is good. I'm a maker, and
She takes it and holds it up and does one of these, right? Yeah.
shh, I relate to that too much. Don't do that. Um, yeah, I'm a maker, and I have become recently interested in the the broadcast of radio shows into the ether and how they are broadcast and how they are received. I've read a little bit about it, but I thought it would be interesting, experiential, if you will, to come by and make the acquaintance of the charming people that run the local radio station.
She blushes. Well, that's very sweet of you. My name's Eugenia Samaris, And yeah, we don't get very many visitors here. Why don't she looks around and why don't you come on in? And she kind of backs away from the door and lets you in. Um, as you step in the door, the 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 room that you walk into it's not modernized by any means. It's very much an old, like a 50s or a 40s style room. There's some leather upholstery, and it looks old. It's got that smell from that era, you know what that's like, where it's very almost mothball and dusty and um, just just really old fashioned. The furniture doesn't match, and off in the corner there's kind of an old oak desk that there's about 3 or 4 stacks of papers on it, and they're 6, 7 inches high. Um, and she looks around and there's no one there, and she's, well, I had a few things I was going to do, but you know, I do those every day, and it would be so different to take someone on a tour. I haven't done a tour in a long time. Would you like a tour of the studio?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was hoping you might offer.
So she begins taking you through the studio. Um, the building that you're in is actually was originally supposed to be offices. There is one person that occupies that entire building. Um, Everybody else has kind of abandoned it for greener pastures. Um, and the only person left is the general manager, and he's not there at the moment. Um, you find out that she is the studio engineer, and um, the studio is that building next door. They have a single on air room, and as she takes you in, it's got it has what looks like electronics equipment everywhere, but none of it's plugged in anywhere. It all seems to be powered by something else. And you see what looks like a microphone and several other smaller ones, to where they could, they've got a broadcaster or whatever. And then on the other side of uh, a machine, they've got several smaller ones where they could have an interviewee, and do like talk shows and things like that.
Mhm.
And it's the studio it's not cramped, but it's not large either. And then adjacent to that, there's kind of almost like a ready room, the table and chairs and a odd looking kind of a ugly couch on the wall, um, like where people would go to get ready to be interviewed. Um, Maybe have a lunch there or something like that. It probably also doubles as a conference room or something like that. And then um, off that studio, there's another smaller door, and this one leads into almost like a closet. And the closet contains probably 4 times the machinery that's in that studio in a much, much smaller space. You start wondering, how does anybody find anything in here? But she just starts chattering on about, this is the ether converter, and this is the power converter, and these how that, and she just goes on and on and on and on and on. Are you going to stop her at all and ask questions, or are you just going to let her talk?
Oh, no, he'd be asking all kinds of questions. Asking what sort of power source they used. Asking specifics about the technology used to uh, broadcast into the ether, and what sorts of tech are involved in creating that connection.
So etheric broadcasting is powered by ectoplasm. It's not the same kind of thing that you're thinking about in the sense of Ghostbusters. It's not like the essence of ghosts. It's very much much more similar to the concept of the noosphere, where you've got all sorts of linked minds and things like that, and that's what powers it. Ectoplasm is, as she kind of explains it to you, it's spiritual matter, but it's more energy than matter. And that's partly why, when ghosts appear, they can't interact with physical objects, is because there's no matter there to interact with. They're actually mostly energy, and it's this energy in its free state that powers most etheric radio equipment. Yeah, I'm weird. I thought about all this stuff while you guys were on break. So she goes ahead and then talks to you about what each of the pieces of the vital pieces of equipment that you need to be able to do a broadcast are, and then how, in general terms, that energy is stored to be able to power the equipment, and how you might go about collecting it. And it takes her probably 2-3 hours or whatever between what she's telling you and the questions that you've got that she answers. But by the end of that time, you've got a basic understanding of the kinds of stuff that you need to at least research more, um, in order to figure out how to build them.
All right, that's what I was after.
And she appears very happy to have been able to teach.
As I am departing, I take her hand and I say, "Would you mind if I mended your robe?"
Well, if you'd like.
Reach out and take the hem of the robe, the sleeve, and use temporal adjustment to wind it back as far as I can, to the point where it was the most whole within the last year. Unclear how long the rope has been like this, but I can wind it back up to a year. So I will keep going back and back and back until it looks whole, or until I hit the limit.
So you do in fact hit the limit before it becomes whole. But you manage to take out about 2/3 of the tears and the rips and the burns and stuff like that. So yeah.
Let's say, There. Now, that's well, it has been such a pleasure, and Rainey and I are delighted to have made your acquaintance. Perhaps sometime we can meet you down at the pub for a drink or two. Maybe I could meet your station manager.
Well, I'd like that. I don't know that he's one that typically goes down to the pub, but yeah, I, I would enjoy that. And she takes out your card and does that again. Albion.
Well, wonderful. I hope you have such a wonderful day. I'll take my leave now. Thank you very much.
You too, good sir. All right. Claire.
Is in trouble. Well, she won't be able to do anything the same day, but she'll probably make arrangements to have a meeting with a goetic of higher rank. I don't know who. I'll just put my name on the waiting list.
All right. So you, the following day, make your way to the Goetic Hall of Records. The Goetic Hall of Records is a massive, almost like a castle. The Goetics are very old school, I guess you could call it. There are a good 6 or 7 turrets around a um, uh, central structure. It's surrounded by a wall, and it's this massive um, single building domed on top. Um, that is where all the records are actually kept. And what happens is um, each of these turrets, you go into one of them, and you're only allowed to go into um, turrets that are either at your level of goetic or lower, and then books are summoned. You don't actually get to go into the Hall of Records unless you're actually working. So the second degree goetics that are being trained um, have as part of their responsibility to go into the main building. But they're always supervised by a goetic of higher level. So you go and you go into one of your turrets, the first level turret, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you wait, and then there's a man that shows up, and it's not one of those flashy, poof, there he is. He walks through the door, and his robe is older. It's a brown, kind of a simple robe with almost a black vest, and looks at you and, Claire, is it?
Correct.
Claire, my name's Heber. I am going to be your escort as you start working in the Hall of Records. Um, do you know much about what we do there?
I know that you have books and that I will be serving here 1 hour a week doing what I'm told to do.
You know, our training has not gotten any better since I was a first degree. Okay, so follow me, and I'll explain on the way. And he turns around and he leads you back through the door that he came through, and out into the courtyard. You walk towards this massive center building with a huge pair of double doors on one side. As he walks, he starts talking about how all of the Goetic records are kept inside this building. That's both um, records of summonings, records of names of spirits, demons, angels, um, pacts, and their specific terms. So anytime a Goetic creates a pact with a spirit or a demon or an angel, um, the terms of that pact are then taken and filed away in the Hall of Records, so that that can be accessed by the order, should there be a need to do so. Um, but yeah, that's they they have the second order or the second level Goetics. Um, they are the ones in charge of. So when someone is in the turret and pulls one of the records and then puts it back, you're responsible for refiling it and making sure that any new records are cataloged and put where they're supposed to be going. And so he leads you inside this massive building, and it's not as big as Mentors, but it's big. And it appears to go down as well. And so he spends the first day teaching you where everything is, including the bathroom. And this is where all the pacts go, and this is how they're organized, and this is where all the names go, and they're organized by where the name comes from, and alphabetical order or whatever, right? And leading you through their system of organization. And the hour kind of flies by, and he says, I will see you next week then, I assume.
Or tomorrow.
Or tomorrow. All right. Well, we like volunteers that are interested in spending more time with us. So we'll see you when you come back. Just ask for me.
Will do. And she'll kind of give him a smile and scamper out, because about 45 minutes into that hour, her eyes were glazed and she had no idea what he was talking about.
All right. So are you going back tomorrow then?
Yeah, but I'm gonna ask Kelton or Billy if he's got a weave that would help me remember things better.
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, she's gonna go, Billy, please. Oh my god. And she's gonna tell him about it because she doesn't really care that it's this whole secrecy thing or bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
No, she's gonna be like, this place is so badly organized, like it looks like some toddler vomited books everywhere.
That
So
sounds terrible.
I don't suppose you have like a memory weave or something you could do to make it to where my brain doesn't like implode and go off the tracks into La La Land when they're talking to me, do ya?
Let me think about that for a second.
Look, the rules only said that I couldn't bring a non-Goetic into the Hall of Records. It doesn't say that I can't talk about the Hall of Records. The loopholes. They're the packs of everywhere. The sheer amount of information.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost identical to Mentors. Maybe not quite as big, but there were a lot of books there, and I might be able to find some more information about alabasters.
One second. I wonder.
The air
Air
bath.
bath. I can English today. It's great.
This is really interesting. It's a tough one. So, oh, stop opposite. I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch.
Okay, maybe
But,
Albion, my friendly maker. I can produce a ghost that could help, I guess. Does Albion have anything to help Claire remember stuff?
You'll have to ask him the next time you see him.
I'm assuming this is a
Yeah.
long downtime. So if y'all want to just go back and forth and work this, go ahead.
Kind of effect is Claire wanting to
I
to
think
get.
I think Claire is just wanting help remembering how things are organized because I figure she's used to things being a specific way. Then when she went inside, like for example, at the theater, the playbooks were organized by the author and then the name of the playbook. And then this place is like organized by rank and level of the whatever, and then the packs, and then alphabetized, and then sometimes the alphabetization doesn't match what she thinks the alphabetization would. Like
Um,
the Beelzebub is actually under T, not B, because his full name is the Beelzebub.
I mean, Albion could give you a potion that would improve your memory for the day that you're in there, and help you learn a little more effectively. I think that might look like a +1 ongoing to significant action, and to increase the rank by 1 wouldn't be that terribly challenging. So that would be like a level 3 ephemera object, or level 4 ephemera object.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I
I'll
just want
call
to
it.
say that the absences on all of Billy's aggregates are like structure, can't do anything with that. Clarity, nope. Like it seems I could like trap an idea in a dream and then it would end up being more confusing than it was before. Yeah, it's hilarious. I can do the opposite of that.
I don't think that would help much.
see, first degree, and I can create an item up to level 4. So I could I could create a level 4 object.
How much
That
would
would
I owe you?
be, well, let's. Sorry, everyone. We have to math for a few minutes because everything is in 15 different books. To jump around, jump up, and get down.
Okay, now I feel old.
Because I reminded you of a song from your youth.
Yes, you did.
It's from my youth as well. Don't feel too bad. So, yeah. So I will need a material that is level 4. Level 4 materials are 75 crystal orbs. And then the ingredients will be 10, 50, 100. So 360 orbs will for the ingredients, and then power source would be 8 crystal orbs. So that is, I could do it for 100 crystal orbs.
I need to go see how much money she's got.
And I would need how many days? 2 days per level, or is it 3?
If money's an issue, Billy is loaded at the moment, so if you need help.
I did everything except write down how much money she gets.
She's bizarre.
Yeah.
I think she gets 30 a week.
And it's been about 2 months. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah, if you can do it for 100, she's got enough.
Joke. I can't find where it says how many days it takes to make an item per level. I think it's 2, and then it's 1 day per mess up to add a catalyst.
Yeah, she'll pay. I'll be in the 100 orbs for it. And then she'll just block out an hour a week for, or actually 2 hours a week, like on alternating days to go to the Hall of Records. 1 hour to do her whatever it's servant stuff, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1 hour of research.
Let's see. So Albion ought to be able to do first couple of things without much effort. That would get the 5th and 6th day. Yeah, definitely. So Albion, it takes him about 8 days to create a potion that will give you +1 ongoing. Depletion will be in hours. I don't know what kind of roll you would like her to roll, if it's 0 to 1 or just 0, but
Call it a 0.
it'll be in hours, and it will last until either it depletes or the sun sets, I'm sure. But it is an ephemera object. You can use it one time.
Okay.
Potion of good memory and thinking and stuff, we'll call it. Hooray!
That and stuff is really important.
I mean, who knows what kind of stuff she's going to get up to.
Exactly.
It's Claire.
Yes, it is Claire. Oh, just wait until Albion gets to meet Screech. That's going to be hilarious.
So, sweet. You have an ephemera object. I don't know how many ephemera objects you can have, or how many you already have, but I've created an ephemera object for you to use the next time you go to work at the library.
Wonderful. So we'll come back to that in a bit.
Yes.
Billy, you get a card draw.
Oh boy.
And your card draw is the Crowded Tomb. Secrets, ravens, books, flame means endings, despair, completion. The tomb lies at the end of all stories, the reward for the greatest monarch and the lowliest beggar. Of course, the tomb is crowded. It grows more crowded each day. Mourners crowd around the tomb, but it is even more crowded within. So many deaths, so many endings. The Crowded Tomb is the location card of the Secrets family and thus represents a permanence or is related to a physical place. This means that the finality that it represents probably occurs in a specific and significant location. Okay. Tell me what you're going to do with Kudash.
Well, first there's a pre-game sort of step, which is I got documents that he had written.
Yep.
From Sterling, and so what I already know from like looking over them and what we talked about last session is there was one paper in particular I found about alchemical concoctions that can suppress the ability to see through shadow or to see through illusions, and Kudash wrote about a lot about seeing through illusions. So what I would like to do when looking over these documents, and maybe a little additional research if I need to, is try and in Billy's head like reverse engineer that. Like I should be able to glean something about the people that created the illusion, because Billy is assuming that the Thaw and the people that would be looking for us if we do this broadcast are also the people that probably were suppressing his own ability to see through stuff in shadow. He's already just assuming that's all related, and it's always been them. So he wants to know how they look at it, which he's hoping will be like implied in the strategies that Kudash found to see through the illusions. So that way, when I go to create a weave or a spell to mask us from them later, I can be more equipped to like do it properly or strategize against the way they think. And then I want to go talk to him.
Okay. That's a good question.
Yeah, I know it's a lot. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Go ahead and give me a intellect roll.
You got it.
You can use hidden knowledge for this because you have his papers.
Mhm.
Yeah. Roll high.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop a Benny into it, my only intellect Benny, and I'm definitely gonna use a hidden knowledge because I feel like there's some obscure thing from a dream or something from Shadow that he's going to use as like a clue when trying to understand this. Oof. Well, so plus the 2, 7.
Okay. What you're going to be able to figure out with a 7. The thing about Shadow and realistically, there's not a whole lot actually known about the way Shadow and Indigo interact. Although there's a stronger interaction with the Shadow because they're connected than, say, the Red and Shadow, right? But one of the few things that seems to be known is that the Shadow and Indigo are almost like overlapped layers on a picture. So if you can imagine for a second, a long time ago, they used to make how it's made books or science books. And in those books, they had 5 or 6 clear pages with parts printed on them. And each page, as you laid it on top of the other pages, would add to that picture, right? Think of Indigo and the Shadow as 2 of those clear pages. Okay. The Shadow lays on top of Indigo and adds imagery. That imagery may or may not be true. It may or may not be true in the way that you think it is. It's kind of like the Star Wars quote, right? From a certain point of view, but it adds that color. And so when you're talking about permeating that, or when you're talking about making that illusion more potent, it's not so much that you're tainting water and making somebody drink it. And it's not so much that you're giving people drugs or something to cloud their mind. It's that you're affecting that connection, that overlay itself, to where it's more insidious or murky, or does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And I think that's going to I love that's an awesome analogy. The imagery is great. That's going to affect the way that Billy will ultimately approach this if we pull it off. Because his goal here was to understand how the engineers of Shadow might think about illusion, because that's who he's going to be trying to hide from, he assumes. And so, I will use that. I took solid notes on it. I will use that when I get to the point of maybe trying to make a weave and hide the location of the broadcast and stuff. I think
Sounds good.
that is enough for me. I think I'm satisfied, and I know how to use it. So then, other than that, I'm gonna go. Talk to Kadash, but he's a busy dude. I think I'm going to send him a letter because that's what he did. Of
All
course,
right.
mine's going to be like messy handwriting, probably on like a bar napkin or something, but stuck into an envelope. And it's just going to say something to the effect of, uh, thank you for your invitation, blah, blah, blah. I would very much like to speak with you. I think I might have some interesting questions for you. Is there a time that we could arrange to do this?
Okay. You send off your letter, and its response comes the next day, and the response is not messy. It's in very fluid, very precise handwriting. Um, and thank you so much for your letter. I'd be more than happy to meet with you. Um, do you have some time yet this week?
Yep. Shoot a letter back. I mean, my schedule is completely open. Besides me, I might be doing reading during this time period, but I'll shoot it back and just arrange a time with him. We can probably fast forward through it.
He comes back and he sets a time with you for like 1:30 in the afternoon, like a tea time, right? For you to come by and sit down with him, and he'll provide the tea. It's friendly chat, and he's more than happy to host you.
Okay, perfect. Let's do it. It's morning for me, but that's okay.
Okay.
Get up a little early, have some extra coffee, and I'll head. I guess we're at like his estate or whatever we're calling it.
His estate in the Strange Glass District. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Let's do it.
All right. So you head out to his estate. It is, as we described it before, large and very impeccably designed. And outside is a doorman just waiting there. You notice it's the same guy, and you wonder if he's just paid to stand there all day, every day, waiting for people to open the door. If it is, hopefully he's getting paid a lot. But yes, Mr. Burroughs, he's expecting you, and he opens the door and lets you inside.
All right. Thanks, buddy. I go on in.
Okay. Off to the side, there is a doorway that was closed before for the party, and it is now open. You see him walk through it, and he's got a broad smile on his face. Billy Burroughs, welcome. I'm so glad you came. He reaches out
Really?
to take your hand.
I shake his hand.
Come, let's go sit.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me.
You bet. Have you eaten yet? I've got some snacks or tea if you'd like, or something stronger if that's your flavor. Or...
Yeah, I would love a cup of coffee.
Sure. And he kind of claps his hands, and you see out of the corner of your eye a small girl race through a door, and then moments later come back out with a coffee pot and a couple of saucers and cups on a tray, and bring it into the room that you're heading into. As he sits down, he kind of leans forward, and from his back, you see a pair of mechanical wings stretch out and kind of flare the feathers a little bit. They're made of what looks to be bronze. And after he does that, he's kind of, and then they fold back and disappear again.
No, that's noteworthy.
Oh, those? I always wanted to fly as a kid. So when I first went to the changery, he kind of blushes a little bit.
Huh.
I
No,
don't
I
get to
can
do it as
relate.
much anymore, but every once in a while, it's just fun.
Makes sense to me.
He takes the coffee and hands it to you, and then takes the other one and sits back in his chair, and raises the cup to you and takes a sip. So, what can I do for you?
Well, I'm an endless font of questions, and I don't know if you're the right person to come to or not, but I want to start with a couple of things. When you sent us the invitation to your party, how did you even know who we were? I mean, why us?
You see a
I just got
slow
here.
smile cross his face. Why you? Well, partly what I said that night was true. It's important that, at least it's important to me, that the Vislae get together and get to know one another, that we've got work to do to rebuild from the war, and that our cooperation will serve us more than petty squabbles or anything like that. And the first step to doing that is getting to know one another on a personal level. Um, it's very difficult to work with somebody that you don't know. So that was indeed true. However, um, I may have had other direction.
Yeah, I figured as much. But I mean, excuse me if I'm being insensitive here, but how do you even have access to our records? How do you know? Look, buddy, I want to trust you, but I don't have any reason to trust anybody here right now. And
Of course
it
not.
seems like you're coming from a place of power, and you know, when I'm not feeling anonymous, it makes me uncomfortable.
I don't expect you to trust me, Billy. That's too much to ask. What I do expect of you is to not stop looking until you find the truth.
Yeah.
I expect that from all of you.
So this whole, war thing, uh, it's a bit of a one of those, no one knew the arm was broken, but we all signed the cast kind of things. Um, I read some of the things that you wrote um, about that particular deception, and I want to ask you some questions. Um,
Feel free.
but I might be a little vague as to why, if you're comfortable with that.
As long as you're comfortable with answers that are vague,
No, I'm getting used to it.
let me perhaps offer an explanation for that, though.
Please do.
When you teach a child, there are certain things that um, are emergencies that you teach them and you expect obedience. For instance, you and I probably both remember in the shadow what a stove was like. I mean, yes, it's a bit different here, but not all that different. When you put your hand on a stove, does it not burn? You don't
Probably.
want a child to burn themselves. So you tell them not to put their hands on a stove. Do you explain gas and heat laws or electricity or um, third degree burns to a 5-year-old child? No. You explain what they can understand, and then you allow them to learn later when they can understand more. It's
Sure, I follow.
it's somewhat the same principle. I will share as much with you as I can, and I will hope that you wish to learn more and go and do so. And then perhaps we speak again.
Yeah. All I really have left right now is to learn more.
That,
And
Billy, is the start of wisdom.
I'm glad you think so. But
Go ahead and ask your questions.
I read some things you wrote about, alchemical concoctions possibly used to prevent Vislae from seeing through illusions, maybe keep us in shadow.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, my experience in shadow was possibly unique in that I dreamt about indigo all the time, and I knew what it was, but I don't remember anything from before the war. And I wonder if it has anything to do with said alchemical concoctions. And I wonder if you would know anything about that.
In your case, I highly doubt it. Um, I cannot say for sure, but from what I know about you and from what I've been able to glean from those with whom I work, I gather that the reason that you cannot remember before the shadow is not because of any effect someone else has tried to produce. I will also say that the alchemical version of that effect is always temporary.
All right, and before I get to my final question, um, what is your position on the sharing of information about the war, about what happened before the war? I mean, someone's hiding it. Are you for that? Does that concern you?
It concerns me greatly. Do I understand that there are things that not everyone is ready to learn? Sure. But to hide it entirely or to lie about it is another thing entirely.
It makes me feel a little more comfortable. Now, some advice. If one were to have need to hide something from the folks that created that illusion, how might they go about that? Do you have any insight?
He sits back and he strokes his chin. He's beaming. Well, if I were to have something that I wish to keep hidden from such a group or individual, I might consider focusing my efforts on masking it in a more personal manner. I presume, young Billy, that you've been to the Dreamery.
Certainly.
Have you ever experienced a dream globe?
Two questions. A dream what? And also, have I?
A dream globe, you know, the
Oh.
smoky thing that Albion
Sure, I'm
got
certain.
sucked in. And yes, you
Certain,
have
yeah.
tons.
Sure. Of course.
How often did you actually understand what was there?
Well, it depends on, you mean like clinical understanding or a more kind of ecstatic truth?
No, clinical understanding.
Uh, Close to not at all.
Exactly.
But I've never been very interested in clinical understanding.
One of the things that perhaps you'll find is that often those who hide truth are very interested in black and white. They see things as either right or wrong, on or off. They're very logical that way. And if you're not for them, you're against them. Most people who have sought power are like that.
Yeah, I agree.
If you cloud whatever it is that you're trying to obscure in energy that is not black and white, it may be that they don't understand what to look for. And so it will escape notice.
Right. Okay, so non-Descartian, nothing but gray area here. I'm used to dealing in that sort of thing. Yeah. That's actually quite helpful. And
I'm glad I was able to be of service.
I have to thank you for your time.
Of course. My door is always open to the four of you.
Sorry, one second. And before I go, just one last question. Are you a fan of theater?
I am, yes.
Oh shoot, what's the name
Orisard.
of the yeah.
Of the book?
The author, Orisard. That's what it's
Orisard the architect, yep.
Yeah. You familiar with Orisard the architect at all?
He smiles at you again. Perhaps.
Okay. Perhaps. I see what you're doing there. Well, I can appreciate that.
He writes interesting plays, does he not?
Yeah, it does. It does. Um, you have any idea why his work is so hard to come by?
That, my young Billy, is a very, very astute question.
Right. Well, I can say honestly, it's been a pleasure.
Likewise. Feel free to come by whenever you wish.
I think I'd like that. Maybe Spider's game one
Of
of these
course.
days. Put it on the back burner.
I shall await your convenience.
I certainly appreciate your time, sir.
Gladly.
Whew. Yeah, I think Billy's done for now.
All right. I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break and come back, and we will get with Sterling and see what we can find out about becoming a more powerful Vance. We'll see you in 10 minutes. welcome back, everyone. We are back in the Actuality with our 4 Vislae and thoroughly confusing each and every one of them because it's fun. So, we just got done talking to a very rich weaver named Kudash in the Strange Glass District, and hopefully confusing Billy some. And then we are headed to the Vancian College. So, Sterling, you were going to go find out about advancing as a Vance, correct?
Well, I sort of know what I need to do already, but I'd like to find a sponsor, and I think I've got a pretty good shot.
Okay. Go ahead.
I am going to head upstairs in one of the buildings where my mom works. She probably isn't currently teaching. I don't think I make that questionable of decisions.
Probably not.
So yeah, I go up there while she's not teaching and just kind of softly knock on the door.
Yes, come in.
I'll open it slowly, like almost afraid to go in. Hey, Mom.
Sterling, is that you?
It is. Yeah,
You haven't visited in a long time.
I've been
I was
really entrenched in these studies. You know how it is.
I was beginning to think that you didn't like me anymore. Just like your
Ah,
father.
yeah. It's just a lot of studying, especially lately.
Come in. Sit down. Tell me what's on your mind.
Oh, I was just obviously I was looking to get maybe sponsored, become a second degree Vance. It's been about 3-4 months that I've been a Vance now. I think I'd be able to make it, be okay in the second degree.
All right. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience as a Vance at the Vancian College? We don't have to role play this out if you don't want to, but I'm assuming she's going to want to, since you haven't been in contact, she's going to want to catch up, understand what you've learned and what you've experienced, and all of that kind of stuff to gauge your readiness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because
Uh
it wouldn't do for her to sponsor somebody that's not gonna do it.
that maybe it'd be good use of a dev session
We could
sometime
we could
soon.
do that.
Yeah.
Um, so let's plan on doing that in a dev session, and then let's go ahead and do a card draw. The card is the lucky coin. Notions, cats, clocks, and wind means good fortune, wealth, freedom, unexpected luck, and unstructured. We put a lot of value in objects. We place a lot of importance in their presence in our lives. Some people might have a favorite shirt, a trusty handkerchief, or, of course, a lucky coin. Armed with a talisman such as this, no harm can befall us. But we only barely understand the truth of such things. The luck they bring, if they work, never comes in an expected form. Okay. She will absolutely sponsor you.
No, that's great. Thank you. I believe I also need an interview with the court, right?
Yes,
Okay. I'll, I'll have
I
to
can I
get
can
ready
set
for
that
that.
up. That's no problem.
That'd be wonderful.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mom. A part of me, it's funny, a part of me was worried you wouldn't.
Why wouldn't I? You're my son, and you know that's family, and besides, you'll do me a favor in return. No,
Of course. It's been so long since I've been home, having to stay here, having to worry about studies. I haven't heard anything back from anyone at home, not you, the siblings. I don't even know what they're up to. I'm certain you barely get to go home either, but it's been rough.
well, it's a part of being a Vislae, I suppose. But we do what we must.
Being a van, at least, I suppose.
So yes, I will make an appointment with the council, and um, where can I reach you now? Where are you staying?
I'm staying with Phineas for now in his room. I give, there's probably a specific room number or address
You
for
see the biggest look of disgust cross her face.
it.
Phineas, are you still hanging around with that old no good?
It's a place to live.
My son and that lackabout. Ugh. All right. I will send the time to this Phineas's place.
Thanks, Mom.
Are, are
What?
you are you
Why
at
did you
least
never
eating
like him?
well?
I am. I am. I make a decent income. We go to Ed's pretty much every other day.
I
I
said
manage
eating
to go on the
well.
good days. I go on the good days. I'm
what did
living
I
that
n-
way.
what did I not like about Phineas? It,
You've never liked him.
it's the pie dreams, dear. The everything's going to be grand and wonderful, and I'm going to be famous and rich and powerful. Well, how are you going to do all that? I don't know. It's just going to happen. Life doesn't work that way. You have to work for what you want. And he never seemed to understand that. And I was afraid that would rub off on you.
He keeps me in check. We've got I put the dreams into action. That's how things work for now, I guess.
I suppose that's good enough for now. I do hope you find a respectable place to live here soon.
Well, save up my orbs. I've got a pretty decent chunk now. May not be out of the question soon, once I can get off campus. Though I suspect the studies don't lessen at the second degree.
No, of course not, child. There's always more to learn.
Out of character, what degree is she? Just out of curiosity.
She is a 4th-degree Vance.
Okay. Okay, works for me. Oh, and if you ever need help with research, I can help. I know a great journeyman who showed some great dedication. I managed to convince him to do some research for me,
Oh, my
even at
dear
first.
boy, I have people for that.
I know, that's what I mean, but that I would be glad to be a person for that. Perhaps I'll find something new myself.
Perhaps I may have other uses for you.
Yes.
In the
Let me know.
meantime, however, um, like I said, I'll send that missive to your Phineas's place, and I'll see you more often. Yes.
Sure, sure. I'll come in as often as my studies permit.
Very well. Um, until next time, then. And she turns and she, as if you're not even there, goes back to grading papers.
I'll nod and walk away. And from there, I am going to head to sort of a dusty little corner of the Vancian campus, like the dustiest, murkiest corner I can think of at the moment,
Okay.
and try to find a couple spiders.
So you find your way to the maintenance facilities, and you sure there's spiders there if you want.
I assume these haven't been used in years because it's just magical upkeep. So once they figured that out, they just left the building up, haven't used it since.
Yep,
Yeah, I'll go find like a little nest of them.
you find one.
I'll crouch down, and my left eye sort of softly glows as I look at it. Hey, br- bring everyone else if they have the time.
About 2 minutes pass, and there's 40, maybe 45 spiders.
I kind of let them all crawl up onto me as I'm talking to them, as if I'm preparing to give them something.
All right.
See what everyone thinks of the thaw, and if it happens to be positive, maybe sway them again. And a sort of orb pops out of my head and rolls down my arm. Here's a little memory. I'm gonna use a hidden knowledge for this, if I can.
Okay. Go
Here's a
for it.
little memory of the thaw just taking a person and shoving them through a wall.
So let me make sure I understand what it is that you're trying to do.
I want
You're
them to kind of sow dissent about the thaw.
you're not trying to get the spiders to convince like other Vislae about the thaw. You're trying to convince the spiders about the thaw.
I'm trying to get them to convince other Vislae,
To
if they
convince other
can.
Vislae. Okay.
Yeah. Or at least gather opinion, if they can't do that. I'm sure the spiders are totally neutral about the thaw.
Um actually in the course of that conversation you find that that's not correct. They don't like the thaw at all.
I'll give them that little extra bit of ammo, if I may.
They the sense that you get from them is one of dubiousness. Like what you're asking them to do is kind of beyond their reach,
Okay.
but they'll try.
Okay. And I'll give them sort of one last. If there's anyone that seems eager about displacing Thaw, let them know about me. I'll give them a name, basic contact info.
Okay.
Not Phineas's address,
All right.
but at least a name to work off of and the fact that I'm on campus.
Fair enough. They crawl back down your arm and scatter. You're welcome, hon.
Could I leave a note with some hidden knowledge on it for them as payment? I'm not sure what they'd want to know, but I figure they'll appreciate the knowledge anyway, and I've got the knowledge to spare.
Sure. Go ahead and
Yeah, I'll just leave behind a little note with something on it. What would a spider want to know in these trying times?
That's actually much more of a complex question than you can imagine. Surprisingly. All right. Back to Albion. So in that time, you were working on a potion, and I'm not sure that you very often needed to be standing at that potion, stirring it or whatever. Because 8 days worth of that is a lot. So what were you doing in the meantime?
Primarily just studying. This was not just an alchemical. A lot of the time that went into creating it was spent doing the equations, and it wasn't necessarily active, you know, eyedropper precision drips of one chemical into another. A lot of it was kind of trying to account for the mind of a Vislae and the effects of these various chemicals, uh, and how that will be affected by certain kinds of magic. It was a lot of complicated equations. Um, you probably wouldn't understand if you're not a maker, but it was a lot of that. And then once that was kind of hammered out, he was doing some further reading on uh, some alchemical stuff and writing notes about how he made this one and what he might do different the next time, and just kind of being a scientist.
Fair enough. Are you looking further into the broadcasting equipment?
Yes, I think he probably, when he's not doing all of that, he spends, 6 to 8 hours a day working on that stuff. But he also has a life outside of that, and he makes his way out to mentors and finds some books about the earliest incarnations of radio broadcast in the Actuality, and um, tries to compare that information with what he has learned, and then tries to look up schematics for various broadcasting equipment, and just generally learning about that kind of stuff. And then, he finds his way to Zeros and spends several hours drinking with all of his new friends that he meets.
So while you're at Mentors, you spend several days there, not consecutively, but you go back and you go back and you go back. On one of those days, probably fairly early on, you see the librarian that led you around that one time with the really really big nose.
I remember.
Um, as you're walking through, he sees you and almost turns and runs.
I think Albion is probably very, very happy with this outcome. But he is a bit curious about why that might be. Um, he is going to ask Rainey to go see what that fella's up to, and he will. Hold on. Let me see what the limits of this are. Um, yeah, he's just gonna ask Rainey to go check to see where the guy went. I guess. Um, yeah, as long as there are no walls or doors in his way, uh, he will go see where the fellow went and then return after a round and tell me everything he saw and heard.
Okay, this is one round.
Mhm. So,
So like 6 seconds, one round.
um, yep. I mean, that's what the ability says. So 6 to 10 seconds, depending on which book you look at. But yeah.
All right. So we're going to fudge this just a little bit because it makes narrative sense. And Rainey goes and follows this guy, and this guy's racing down the stairs. And he goes down, 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 back to the level where you guys were crawling through bookshelf tunnels. And he crawls, or he goes to the edge of the tunnel, and Rainey can hear him talking in almost a frantic voice. They're back. They're back. No, I didn't tell them anything. No, I didn't invite them. I didn't tell them anything. You said not to again. I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah. Can Rainey see who he's talking to?
He can't.
Okay.
It's almost like he's talking to his own invisible fox,
Hmm.
um, if Randy listens real close, he can hear a voice, or rather several voices talking back, but he can't make out what they say.
Okay. It's like Charlie Brown parent or teacher talking.
Not even that. It's more. It's almost like it's distant.
Hmm. Okay.
This guy's at this point. He's like crouched on the floor, and his hands are up, trying to protect his head, like he's afraid someone's going to hit him.
Okay. Um. All right. Well, I assume Rainey comes back and tells me all that.
Yes, he does.
Okay. Albion is vexed by this, but certainly in no position to go uh, crawling through the tunnel and confronting him about anything. Um, so, yeah, that particular day, Albion will make a note to to come back at some later point and investigate. But right now, he's got several things on his plate, so he's just gonna mosey on over to Zero's.
Okay, you head on over to Zeros.
Perfect.
It's a typical crowd. The faces change. Not all of them. You recognize
Mhm.
some of them, but you know, same stuff, different day.
Mhm.
Um, so
I like to think that the version of Zero's that I enter is the most like a speakeasy, uh, given the time frame in Shadow that Albion was in. He feels much more comfortable and at home in a very like sort of low key, dimly lit place with uh, dark wood and brass and all those kind of fittings. And
I feel like there's
his-
a Maltese falcon or something hanging over the bar or something.
but yeah, I feel like uh, Albion and Zero have an understanding, and so whichever version of Zero's he walks into on any given day is not always the same, but the most like that. It's almost never like a very like contemporary nightclub or anything like that, like some people might wander into. But
That makes sense.
um, assuming that Zero's has like at any given day 5 or 6 modalities that people are wandering into that are like completely different bars and different crowds.
Why, yes, it does.
That's sort of what Albion has picked up in his frequenting of this particular place. But yeah, he
And to the
spends.
best of his knowledge, it's the only one like that.
Hmm, and yeah, and he spends a little time talking with some strangers, trying to introduce them to his friend. Um, and I'm sure some of them are very polite about it, and some of them are probably
Less so.
really,
Yep.
yeah.
All
So,
right. Very well. Um, Claire, you are um, back and forth to the Hall of Records, and then on the 8th day, you get a package from Albion of a potion.
Okay. Is it sparkly?
Sure. I don't know, Albion, is it sparkly?
Well, I'd assume it'd be like sparkly with little flicks of light coming off the top because I'm kind of picturing him like over a bubbling cauldron and just little sparks, and he pours it up and hands it to me, and it's like swirling and
I think
magical
this
potion magic.
I think this particular potion, you shake it, and there's that sort of separation inside when you look at like liquid that has that sort of like almost sparkly bits in it that kind of like swirl around and look like clouds. And you can shake it up, and it will, when it sets down, it looks like the memory that you most recently had. There's some element, some visual element that kind of like manifests in the swirling clouds for the first like 8 or 10 seconds after you set it down. And if you pick it up again and shake it, it will and then set it down, it'll do much the same. And it is probably kind of a grayish pink color. The swirly clouds are sort of like brain matter. And yeah, it's only very, very faintly shimmery. It's definitely not sparking or anything. But yeah, every time you like set it down, whatever you were most recently thinking about, you'll see some visual like manifestation for like 6 to 8 seconds, and then it kind of swirls on out.
Awesome.
Okay.
She's gonna glance at her watch and notice the time, pop the cap, says, "Thanks, Albion," and then quaffs the potion.
She's gonna cuss him as soon as she quaffs it. It does not taste good.
She makes this most horrible face and just kind of reaches up and starts clawing at her tongue. And the words that she is saying now would probably be, inappropriate for polite company. But yeah, she's like trying to scrape. The
As
taste
soon
off
as
of
she
it.
does swallow it, she starts to feel this like, it's not like warmth, it's like electricity that sort of like shoots out into her limbs for just a second and then kind of settles in her head. And at first it feels like static, and then all of a sudden it's like super coffee. It's like coffee and Adderall and cocaine had a beautiful baby together, and your brain is just like ready and focused, and you are there. You are present.
Well, that the taste could use improvement, but I appreciate you. I'm gonna get to work. I will see you later. And she's gonna go to work.
Okay. You go to work, and Heber's there, and he leads you back into the hall, and you start. So, how many times? Let's do it this way. In the 8 days that he was working on that potion, how many times did you go to the Hall of Records?
Probably every day. Just to like learn my way around and to investigate, and I'm looking to see if I can find anything about the Arbalists.
The Arabast?
Those people. One of these days I'll remember the name, honest. No, I won't.
It'll be the last session, guys.
Probably the Arabast. Arabast.
I think arbalist is my favorite mispronunciation so far, though. It's
Hey,
solid.
we know an arborist, I mean, Hopper, Crane.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, look, when we were talking about it over the holidays, sorry to interrupt, but when we were talking about it over the holidays, I kept calling it the obelisks.
That was funny. Okay, so in the 8 days, you have really struggled to make heads or tails and find things. And yeah, bless his heart, Heber's been very, very patient. Um, you think he thinks you're cute or something. It's very much a kind of a pat you on the head, kind of a good effort. Let's try it again, and sort of thing. He's one of the nicer goetics that you've ever met. A lot of them are very dour and very serious, and you think maybe it's got something to do with the whole summoning demons and summoning angels thing, like that is some sort of prestige or some otherworldly privilege or something like that, and it got to their head, and he doesn't seem that way. um he's very much the guy that is patient with the the newer goetics, and will explain things in different ways and multiple times and things like that to try and make it so that you get it. Um, that's probably why they stuck him with this job, quite frankly. But um, on the 8th day, when you come after having quaffed that potion, you're there for maybe 10 minutes, maybe. And it's like everything he's been telling you for the last 8 days just all of a sudden makes sense. And it's not like he was explaining it to you at the time. Okay. This feels like somebody chopped open your head and dumped knowledge directly into it. Not just facts, but how they all relate, the organizational structure, any of the subconscious connections that are between them, all of it, just all at once. Everything makes sense, and you look around and you immediately know how to use this library.
Does it come with a headache too?
No, no, it
Awesome.
does not.
That comes later.
Thanks for the warning.
It's kind of like an aftertaste,
So yeah, she's gonna start zipping around and doing what she needs to do, and is on fire. Cause yeah, she gets it now.
So yeah, people are putting books back into the hollow records, and you're racing around, scooping up a book and tossing it back on the shelf, and going around scooping up the book, and like a squirrel inside this library. And he's just kind of sitting back and watching you go around. He's got this grin on his face, like, "Yep, I am the man." Yet another goetic trained by the great Heber. Oh yeah.
Okay, so now I'm picturing the Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah.
Oh jeez. No, this guy's way too thin to be that guy. So yeah, that's and for the next, however long you stay there, and I'm assuming it's just an hour, but if you want to stay longer, you can. Um, it is hands down the smoothest day you've had.
But I get to keep the knowledge, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure, because. All right, yeah, she's gonna stay the hour to do the chores and the serving, and then she'll probably stay extra time to do some research, because research names and packs and try to find out more about different people and finding people to summon.
Okay. You, in the time that you've spent, you have the name of someone that you can summon for your advancement.
Okay.
So I'm assuming after you're done, you're going back to the Fade.
Yep, I will head back to the Fade and let Albion know how awesome it was. That his potion was miracles, and yeah.
Albie will give you just like a big old handful of Saturnine ibuprofen, and so you're gonna want to hang on to these and use them about an hour after the sun goes down, I think.
Awesome.
I need to know what Saturday ibuprofen look like, though. Like strange little cockroaches. Like what?
Yeah, I was thinking actually, yeah, they're not as big as cockroaches.
Sure.
They're like ladybug sized,
Yes.
I would think, and
All
they look
those
like
Asian stink beetles or whatever the heck those things are called.
yeah.
No, those are
But they
disgusting. No,
but they look like
and they taste bad too.
I'm not going to ask.
That's
but they're the
delightful.
same.
I love it.
They're the same sort of like sickly red color that ibuprofen have.
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
My ibuprofen's blue.
Oh well, you must buy the fancy ibuprofen.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah,
You need
I
to
buy
get
the
the
liquid
off-brand,
gels.
the solid off-brand, somewhere between Pepto Bismol and sandstone sort of color. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. So you are back in the Fade. You get some nifty little ladybug type things. What else are you doing?
Honestly, I'll probably just wander around the Fade because I still have to find a house.
All right.
And then I figure Albion's off at zeros, or heads off to zeros after he gives me the ibuprofen. Or maybe Albion goes with me. That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, Albion. I mean, if you're looking for somewhere to squat, Albion would certainly wander around with you.
Well, I can't live on your couch forever. That'd be rude.
Agreed. Uh, but yeah, let's we can wander around. The Fade has quite a few places that seem abandoned. I'm sure we could check them out.
You spend a good couple hours wandering around the Fade, and I don't know if you want to role play that or chat or anything like that, but that's up to you guys.
I imagine there's probably I would think there's like a crumbling lighthouse somewhere around the edge of the Fade. Maybe even with that's on a bit of ground that's like floating off, and it's just like lashed to the mainland with cables.
Yeah, there has to be.
Okay,
And
it's there. Yep, absolutely. And so outside this lighthouse, it's kind of overgrown. The grass, I should say, is all, it's probably neck high, right? And it's got the flowers at the end, like it's getting ready to seed. There's stone underneath the lighthouse, but probably 2/3 of this piece that was floating away has some vegetation on it. And sticking out of the vegetation, kind of overgrown around it, looks to be a Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah, Claire's gonna head for that beagle.
Okay. It rusty as all heck. I mean, it looks ugly, quite frankly. But it's just kind of there. It's got grass. The grass is parting as it comes around it, right? And so it's almost as high as the car. It looks like it hasn't moved in years and years and years and years and years and years and years. Ironically, there's no. It doesn't look like there's spider webs or anything like the wheel wells, or whatever. They're clear. It's rusty as all heck, but they're clear.
Yeah, Claire's gonna go over and look at it.
As you're looking at it, it looks like a Volkswagen Beetle. I mean, it's it's maybe
No, I'm like peering inside through the windows and seeing if I see anybody inside of it, and I'm looking to see if the doors are welded shut or anything,
no, the doors aren't welded shut, but you don't see anybody inside.
Okay. What do you think, Albie? What do you think? Isn't it cute? And she's like gushing over this rusted piece of metal.
I, if you're happy, I'm happy.
I used to have a car like this in the shadow. It
Well,
was my baby.
these were pretty newfangled by the time I was out of shadow, so I imagine I was there a little bit before you. Uh, yeah,
she's
I mean, if this is what you'd like, you could park it on my lot and uh, call it a guest house.
yeah, I'm gonna open the door.
It opens. It makes that rusted metal on metal noise. All right, when it opens, but it opens, and you look in, and the car's huge. It's like um full on RV size, Class A.
It's a clown car.
I feel like that's pretty common around these parts. But if you think you could be comfortable in there, I know it won't have all the ghosts, but like I said, you can park it near the plane, and I can introduce you to Muggsy. He's right friendly once you learn how to knock on the door in the rat pattern. If you're not careful, you might get run through with a whole bunch of bullets. But
That sounds like a good plan. And she's gonna look for the keys. Are there keys?
There are. They're actually in the glove compartment of the car.
Does the car crank?
It does not.
I'm gonna pop the hood. And then go around to the back.
Albion will happily get into this. Albion was, an airplane mechanic back in Shadow, and while the technology is a little different, he combustion engine makes sense to him just fine. And he can start poking around in there and seeing what.
That
Uh,
would that would be incredibly useful if there were a combustion engine in this car. There is
oh
not.
heck,
There's no combustion engine. There's no radiator. There's no uh, power steering system. There's no, where it should be is just empty.
well, that is not particularly helpful. But uh, I mean, not to put you out or anything, but do you think you could perhaps summon a big, a big strong something or other to tow it to the tow it to the airplane?
Yeah, I think I can do that. And she's gonna get this biggest grin on her face. I know just the perfect creature, but promise me you won't scream. He's kind of odd looking when you first meet him.
Oh, I know many people who are quite odd looking when I first met them.
So yeah, she'll make her little summoning circle and cast, get her um, components out and summon Screech.
All right. So this particular summoning, this particular creature has absolutely no problems being summoned by you. So it actually does not require a roll. Go ahead and describe Screech.
All right, so the first thing you notice is the smell. You get the faint odor of fish because Screech likes fish. And then there's a faint thump noise, and this massive beast with tentacles appears and has this cutest little smile on his face, like he's hi. But he's huge with tentacles, and you're pretty sure that he's not natural. He is definitely an otherworldly creature. And he's blue.
And he's blue. Screech looks at you and kind of cocks his head to the side. Yes.
I found a car! Can you help me move it to beside his plane? That'd be really great. I'll give you 5 fish.
5 fish. I haven't had fish in. And he starts holding up tentacles like he's counting. And he ends up holding 7 tentacles up in front of his face. I haven't had fish in 14 days.
Do we have a deal?
He nods eagerly.
Excellent. She'll open the containment circle to where he can move the vehicle.
He gets out and starts circling this vehicle and sniffing at it. And when he gets to the back end, the trunk where the engine and stuff is, you never closed it. And so he looks in, and he sort of flows into the car through the trunk. And all that's left at the end is his face looking out the back end of the trunk out at you. Ready when you are. And he's just these 2 eyes, right? And a really, really big smile.
Okay, she starts walking back towards the plane.
So you're not going to start the car.
Okay, I'll get in and try and start the car, I guess.
It sounds like it starts up.
Does Screech make the car noises?
That was my question too.
Why, yes. Yes, he does. Sorry, I broke her. Go ahead.
I really hope he's not very good at it. That would be just wonderful.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here picturing him going.
Yeah. That's basically it.
He bangs on the trunk to make like knocking noises.
Come on, Albion, hop in. Let's go for a ride.
Albion tips his hat and says, "You go on ahead. I'll walk."
All right. And she'll start driving back towards the bomber.
So the car will it drives just fine, actually. With the exception of the fact that every so often it's almost like it hiccups, right? And the whole car will bounce in place and then it'll just keep going. It you beat Albion back to the plane. You're in a car, he's walking. So I mean, but yeah, you park and you've got time to poke around, and it's empty inside, right? There's nothing. I mean, there's no real furniture or anything like that, but it's huge. It's like 3 or 4 times the size of this car should actually be inside.
Okay.
And it only appears that that's accessible through the back seat, because when you get in the front to start the car, or when you got in the front to start the car, it was like a regular car.
Interesting.
Yeah, weird.
Super weird. So yeah, after the car is parked, I will feed Screech the promised fish and allow him to disperse himself, because keeping him too long is rude. And yeah.
Okay. Albion, you walk up as she's feeding Screech, and the back of this car is open, and you see this blue head, and it opens its mouth, and there are three, maybe 400 teeth. And he eats all 5 fish, and then he closes his mouth again. It's just this big old smile. It's like the goofiest thing you've ever seen, right?
Mhm.
And then he vanishes.
Well, seems you made it home. Wonderful. Now you can still make use of. We serve dinner every night around 5:30. Kitchen always has something tasty ready for us. So you can come on over anytime you'd like, and I'll leave you to set up your own little house. If you need anything, just knock on the door. Let me know.
Thank you, Albion. I appreciate you being my friend.
Well, I find that being friends is far superior than being rivals or even enemies. So I do my best.
All right. Let's see here. So that's Albion. That's Claire. Billy, after Kudash, where are you headed?
Um,
And or what are you doing?
the nearest bar.
Okay.
It took concerted effort on Billy's part not to be snarky. He does appreciate Kudash, but Kudash is also kind of uh, pompous in a way, and and beyond that, he has a lot to contemplate. Just despite Kudash being withholding, he learned a hell of a lot in some ways. Um, so I mean, I think for the remainder of that day, at the very least, he's going to uh, drink and know things, or pretend to know things, or try to know things. Um,
So you
so
walk into
pretty
the
simple,
bar, and the lady goes, "What'll you have?" And you tell her, "I'll have a Tyrion Lannister."
pretty much. Yep.
All right.
And I'm going to start planning. I might be making notes and stuff on like cocktail napkins and whatever, but I'm going to start planning a weave to to be deceptive, to hide something. I've got some ideas.
Sounds good. We had one of our cast members go into the shadow for the rest of the session. So, I think that's where we're going to end it for today. And we will come back and discover what the four of you do again next session. Everybody that's had a chance to watch this, we appreciate you. We appreciate you hanging in with us. Lots to come. There's still all kinds of stuff for them to discover. And the great thing about Invisible Sun is there's no bottom to it. So we love having you, and we love being able to share this experience with you. If you can't wait for 2 weeks from now, we've got all our videos are out on YouTube. You can go and check that out, and catch up and figure out, see if you can figure out what's going on. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks. Manapot Studios will not be back until Friday, but then I believe we're back to every Sunday's Invisible Sunday again. So that'll be fun. Starting at 8:30 tonight, we have Fireside Chat at the Angel Citadel Lounge, and we're going to be having a special guest tonight. So come join us, and we can chat TTRPGs with that individual. Other than that, do you guys have anything that you have coming up that you want to shout out, or Kelton, Jeff?
Man, I've been in shadow for a month. I don't know what's going on with anybody.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Everybody, Manapot Studios is awesome. Check out Happy Hour. Check out their shows. Check out Heathen Cantina. It's a good channel.
Ooh, yeah.
I'll have other stuff later.
I have nothing to offer. I just am frankly glad to be here, to have survived the holidays. But I'm looking forward to next session and every session after that. This is getting into some interesting lore and secrets.
Lots and lots of secrets. Alrighty then. So that's what we've got. We'll see you in 2 weeks, same time, 3:00 Eastern, same channel, Angel Citadel Play on Twitch. And from our Citadel to yours, happy gaming.
See ya.